All right. Okay, Daniel 1 is where we're going to start. We're going to finish in Daniel chapter 3. Daniel 3. So, but I want you to see Daniel chapter 1 first, because we're going to do a little bit of a recap here. Daniel 1 and Daniel 2. We are currently in Daniel 3. Daniel 1, verse 1. I want you to see, in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. If you remember from Daniel chapter 1, number 1, a lesson on what we learned from Play-Doh. All right, from Play-Doh. Do you all remember that lesson? Okay, good. It was conform or be transformed. That means I took the Play-Doh and I took a mold, and if you conform, you lost a lot of the extras that God gives to you. Very important lesson. And then in Daniel chapter 2, that was 2 weeks ago, we're dreaming or working for miracles. If you remember this one, this is when Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He went out to the people and said, hey, I need you to tell me the dream and give me the interpretation. I have no idea what it was. Go for it. Or you're all dead. Okay, that's exactly what happened. So are you dreaming or working for miracles? Now we're going to get to Daniel chapter 3 and look at verse 1. Verse 1. Daniel 3, verse 1. Says here, Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Look at number 3 here. Number 3 has kind of a two-part message to it. One is the building of faith, I want you to see, is a super powerful thing. The building of your faith is super powerful. And you're going to see that. And then the second part is, are you burned up for God or are you burned up by the world? And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. In Daniel chapter 1, now, as we all know, this is the chapter of the fiery furnace, right? Okay. Nebuchadnezzar builds the image. And he says, okay, everyone's going to bow down to this image, or you're going to get burned in a fire. All right. The 3 that did not were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so now this is the fiery furnace. In Daniel 1, I want us to go back and just kind of relive what they lived through. Okay. In number 4, in Daniel 1, these 3 lived through being forced out of their home. All right, keep in mind, this is not long past what they've already been through. All right, Daniel 1, Nebuchadnezzar came in, besieged Jerusalem, took them out of their homes. And these were young kids. All right, these were teenagers. All right, these weren't grown adults who have such an easy time adapting. Right, says no one ever. Yeah, Monte. Yeah, and he changed their names. He tried to change what they believed. What they ate, and letter B, they were tested to conform or be transformed. And again, that's where Nebuchadnezzar said, hey, you're going to eat this, you're going to learn this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to go here and enjoy it. And they said, but we don't want to enjoy it. We don't want any of that stuff. And then in letter C, they saw God work in their lives. They saw God work in their lives. I want you to see verses 19 and 20, just as a reminder. It says, and the king communed with them, and among them was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all of his realm. So they had already been pulled out of their home, forced to conform. They said, no way, we're going to go a different route. And then God lifted them up. Now, look in number 5 in Daniel 2. In Daniel 2, these 3 lived through an unexpected death sentence. And we already talked about that. From the world. They trusted in God to deliver them. They trusted in God to deliver them. And they needed a miracle. They needed a miracle. Do y'all remember the dream where I was swimming in soup and I saw the giraffes and the right? Okay, good. They needed a miracle in order to do that. And look at Daniel 2:49. It says, then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. But Daniel sat in the gate of the king. In letter C, they were rewarded. They were rewarded by God through the world. So we haven't even got to Daniel 3 yet. But their faith, you have to imagine their faith is immensely high at this point. They've been through nightmares that a lot of us would never want to walk into. So in Daniel 3, number 6, the next trial is about to come. The first thing I want you to understand here is, even though you've been through one trial and another trial, don't assume there's not another one. There's always another test coming. Isn't that great? No. But that's how it is. The next trial is about to come. In letter A, are you on fire for God, or are you burned up by the world? Are you on fire for God, or are you burned up by the world? Which one is it? Kind of goes with the recharge series. Letter B, I want you to see here, is you're burning either way. You got to fire one way or the other. All right? Either the world's going to suck up all of your time and your resources and your activities and your thoughts and your words. It's going to suck up all of it. Or God is going to suck up all of your time and your activities and your word and your thoughts and your actions. There really is no other option. You're going to burn one way or the other. Look at Matthew 5, 14 and 15. Matthew 5, 14 and 15. Oh. Matthew 5, 14 and 15 says, once I get there, ye are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Letter C, what I want you to see here is you're hiding your light. You're either hiding your light and burning out to please the world, meaning you're trying to find every bush, every house, every corner, every pile of dirt. You're trying to look everywhere you can to hide the light. Okay? Or it can be Matthew 5:16, which is, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Letter D, you're letting your light shine for God. There's only two options. All that, and we're not even into Daniel 3 yet. Does that make sense? Okay. Now look back at Daniel chapter 3, verses 8 through 13. Daniel 3, 8 through 13. All right. It says, wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. Thou, O king, hast made a decree that every man shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoso falleth not down and worship it, that he should be cast into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom thou hast set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, meaning they're calling them out. They said, hey, do you remember the ones you put over the province of Babylon? Yeah, at the end of chapter 2. Yeah, because they told you this magical dream that was ridiculous. Okay, well, now we're angry at them. And it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not regarded thee, they serve not thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Keep in mind, 249, Daniel 249, he's like, I love you guys. You told me the dream. It's awesome. I love Daniel. I love all three of you. 14 verses later, he's like, you people are garbage. What are you doing? Well, just bow down. Just do what I tell you. So here they see in number 7, they were called out for their light. Don't be surprised if you're called out for your light. All right? Has anyone ever witnessed at work and then been told, hey, you really can't do that? Even though we're a work inclusive environment. Okay. Just remember, you're going to be called out for your light. Daniel 3:16 through 19. Says Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Well, first I want you to see this. The world doesn't like people that shine for God. You got to understand that. It diminishes or tries to put them down all they try to accomplish. Because let me tell you why. If you're trying to shine for God, right, and you may not get any earthly reward, and you know that, then people that are trying to get only earthly rewards have no idea how to even comprehend what you're doing. So they say, that doesn't matter. That's dumb. So they try to diminish it. Yeah, Monte.
I remember, I think you were teaching about how they spoke so boldly.
Yeah. It's a fun verse. Look at 16 through 19. So he says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. Basically what they're saying here is, King, do you not remember Daniel 1 and Daniel 2? Duh. We already came through all that stuff. We don't need you. We don't need this image. We serve the living God. But then they said, wait a minute, but if not, because they didn't want to tarnish God's name. So let's say they did die in the furnace. How did they explain this to Nebuchadnezzar? But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. Look at Nebuchadnezzar then. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. He said, I am enraged. How dare you answer me like that? I'm the king. And all they really said was, Daniel 1 and Daniel 2, God delivered us. He's going to do it again. But if not, we're not serving you anyway. They will diminish the light. Don't let them. In Daniel 3:22, very interesting verse. It says, therefore, because the king, so now just fast forward like 2 verses. He has guys come, take them. They're on the foot of the fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, that's how angry he was, and the furnace exceeding hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Number 9. What I want you to see here is the world's rage doesn't care who it hurts. Do you understand that? As long as they get the, quote, victory. The king wanted victory. These were men that likely had wives, likely had children, likely had grandchildren. And all they were doing was they were just guards for the king. That's all they were doing. And they said, hey, grab them, throw them in the fire. And they said, all right. And they took them up there and they said, well, wait a minute, we're not really protected. And the king said, I don't care. Throw them in. I don't care if you fall in. The king said, I don't care who I hurt, as long as I get the win. When you contradict that with what God would want for us, It's unbelievable. The world doesn't care who it hurts as long as they get the checkbox for the victory. God already gave us the victory, even though we didn't deserve it. Oh, man, that's so good. And I feel bad for these guys' parents, their families, their kids, their grandkids, because they were killed for nothing. Nothing. Nothing in their eyes. Everything in God's eyes. Daniel 3:23 through 29. Of course, we know what happens. If you read Daniel chapter 3, you're going to see that of course they were thrown into the furnace, and then the king said, "Lo, did we not cast in 3? And I see 4, and the 4th looks like the Son of Man or the Son of God." In number 10, what I want you to see is after Daniel 1, they didn't conform. Daniel 2, they worked for the miracle. God was going to give them the victory in chapter 3. God reigned supreme. You do understand, even if they died in the furnace, it's still a magical testimony. You do understand that, right? Even if the end of this story was, hey, and they died in the furnace, the king still could have said, man, they were willing to die for their God. That's a great testimony.
It's crazy they got to see Jesus too.
Yeah.
That's the Old Testament.
Yeah. Old Testament showing up of Jesus, yes.
He doesn't change.
Doesn't that make
Yeah.
sense?
He's
He's
the-
though?
He's
The
the
king, oh, sorry.
Yeah. No.
The king said, gave the name of the image of the fourth person in the fire.
Right.
How would he have even known?
Right. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. It might have been in one of the dreams. Yeah.
He had to have been told a description of the Son of God. This never changes. He's
Yeah.
the same. If he's the Son of God in the New Testament, he is in the Old Testament.
Yeah. All I know is he said, hey, we threw in 3, there's 4, and he's like the Son of God. There was something different about him. It's amazing.
What's also amazing is they were walking around, and the men that threw them in died from the heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as soon as that happened, he should have known immediately. They didn't even die, but the other men died that threw them in.
Right. Yeah. Almost immediately. And guys, what I want you to see is here, God reigns supreme either way. It doesn't matter. Does it matter that they walked out of the fire? Yes, to the rest of the story and to the Old Testament and to us here. Yes, it's a great miracle. But even if they died, they're a great testimony. They're a great testimony. This is what happens when you promote God. When you promote God, die to self, refuse to conform, stand for him. He delivers in great, great ways. Look over at Jeremiah 20. Jeremiah 20, and this is where we're going to wrap up for today. Jeremiah 20, verses 1 through 9. Because I want you to see it wasn't just Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Jeremiah had this same dilemma. Jeremiah had this exact same dilemma. And shockingly, so do you. You knew it was going to come back to you anyway, so come on. What is your choice? Look at what happened here. Now Pashur, the son of Immer, the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things. Of course, Jeremiah prophesied against Israel for God. Then Pashur smote Jeremiah the prophet and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord. And it came to pass on the morrow that Pashur brought forth Jeremiah out of the stocks. Then said Jeremiah unto him, the Lord hath not called thy name Pashur, but Magor Missabib. For thus saith the Lord, behold, I will make thee a terror to thyself and to all thy friends, and they shall fall by the sword of their enemies, and thine eyes shall behold it. And I will give all Judah into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall carry them captive into Babylon, and shall slay them with the sword. How'd you like to say that against someone who just punched you in the face? So they punched you in the face, they threw you in prison, and now you come back the next day and say, oh yeah? God just changed your name. How do you like that? Check that out. And here's the message. Man, Christians are crazy sometimes. But it's crazy for God. Verse 5. Moreover, I will deliver all the strength of this city and all the labors thereof and all the precious things thereof and all the treasures of the kings of Judah will I give into the hand of their enemies, which shall spoil them and take them and carry them to Babylon. Did that happen? Yes, in Daniel. Imagine that. And thou, Pashur, and now he says, you, dude, and thou, Pashur, and all that dwell in thine house. Do you remember when we talked about our decisions not only hurting us, but hurting everyone in our sphere, right? Is because one decision can impact a lot of people. This is what happens here. And thou, Pashur, and all that dwell in thine house shall go into captivity. And thou shalt come to Babylon, and there thou shalt die, and shalt be buried there, thou and all thy friends, to whom thou hast prophesied lies. O Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily. Everyone mocketh me. This is Jeremiah now. This is a realistic view of what we go through. He just gave a stern warning. And then he says, God, everyone's mocking me. I'm tired. Come on. I've been giving this message for all these years and no one cares. I get punched in the face. I get thrown in prison. Look at verse 8. For since I spake, I cried out. I cried violence and spoil, because that's what God told him to say. Because the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me and a derision daily. Then I said, then he makes his decision. Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. Literally, there's a period, and then a new sentence starts. But his word was in mine heart as a what? Burning fire shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. Burned up for God, or burned up by the world? Here we see Jeremiah was transformed. He was transformed. Not saying it was an easy transformation. He went through a lot. Kind of like Daniel chapter 1. He went through his crisis. God brought him through. And now here he was. Jeremiah prayed and worked for the miracles. And you say, well, how do you know he worked for the miracles? You know, he made it out of there alive. A lot of people didn't. God took him. So now what I want you to see here in letter C, write in, add your name. I want your name in this blank. What's Mark's decision and outcome? On fire or burned out? That's Daniel chapter 3. Daniel chapter 4 is next week. Oh, man. Wait till we get to the lesson entitled Animal Instincts. That's next week.